Hi there, it's Adam bringing you another video to the channel. We are continuing the 21-22 UK Model Airport Series in 1/400 scale. So this update really, not one of the biggest updates, but just to round off the end of day movements, sort of based aircraft coming back, which will transition into the next day as we look into the departures in the next update. So focusing on Thursday, schedules again, just to round off the day. Getting straight into update with this first Ryanair. If we zoom in, taxiing in, registration Echo India Delta Lima Foxtrot, Ryanair 737-800, arriving back from Vilnius as FR3467. Now if we pan across, we've got another Ryanair. This is the Ryanair UK 737-800, registration Golf Romeo Uniform Kilo Alpha, arrived back from Copenhagen as RK3759. Then in the background there we have the EasyJet A321neo, registration Golf Uniform Zulu Mike Charlie, having arrived back from Rome as U28258. And if we pan across, just want to say as well, a lot of these movements are sort of between, well, sort of from 11 o'clock to around about 11:30 or so, just to give you an indication of time. Like I say, heading in sort of towards midnight. Obviously the other arrivals will come in, a lot of the other base aircraft will come in the early hours of the morning, as expected. But we have this 2E 737-800 with the split scimitar winglets, registration Golf Foxtrot Delta Zulu Sierra, arriving back from Faro as BY3415. Now if we transition across, having just pushed back, we have this European, or DHL European Air Transport A330-200 Freya, registration Delta Alpha Lima Mike Delta, arriving as BCS 2883 from Dublin, a little earlier. Now on the departure, heading out as BCS 109 to Leipzig. So this is just pushed back from this stand, the tug there, pushback tug, with the bar sort of repositioning back on stand. And then we have the regular ABX Air 767-300 freighter, registration N220 Charlie Yankee, having arrived as ABX 983 from Chicago. So again, pretty small update on this one, but again, just to round off the general sense of movements. And again, it's quite nice now that we can sort of accommodate the DHL A330 schedules a little bit more, because again we previously had the A300, which, you know, kind of conflicted a little bit with the movements, but I've moved that towards the weekend at some point, the A300, so that will make an appearance again. But yeah, that just accommodated a little bit better for the A330s to rotate with, because we do have 3 of them, A332 and A333, so yeah, accommodates well on the evenings just to kind of rotate that airframe amongst them 3. Not much else going on, to be honest, otherwise. There was a bit of a project I've been looking at in terms of a US kind of focused thing, which involves a sort of 3D printed terminal building section, which is pretty compact, pretty small, does have air bridges and things like that. I think it'd suit quite well for like the Southwest, and if I want to use sort of Allegiant Air as well, and maybe Delta aircraft and United, I think it'd work quite well. The thing is, I've got to consider with the Southwest stuff is obviously they do tie in with the Costa Rica airport idea as well. But I obviously, you know, there's certain aircraft and things that don't fly to the Costa Rica region from the US. So ideally, you know, if I did do a US project, I'd be looking at maybe getting Delta 717s, CRJs maybe, and certainly the MDs as well. And kind of time frame I'd be focusing on would be when Allegiant operated the MDs as well, primarily. And the thing is with the Southwest fleet, I know probably a lot of airports that Southwest tend to fly to, they do have a lot of routes going on. But I don't want to have like a massive display where I've got a full lineup of Southwest all at once, because I kind of want to be able to do what I'm doing on this airport in terms of rotating. And I think with a smaller compact kind of airport design, or certainly in terms of the terminal section itself being a little bit more limited, would benefit that, because then each update you'd have a variety of traffic rotating. The actual layout I've been looking at, based on a real world airport, I don't want to sort of disclose too much details, because again, you know, it's just another idea that I've been looking into. But if I did, I've been looking at, you know, potentially including small section terminal, but having like an open area which is based on the actual airport, of having taxiways and the runway. How I'd go about that, I'm not too sure, because I'm not sure I'll be able to accommodate fully for the size. But and again, this is all in 1/400 scale, so it would be sort of possible to some degree, but I think, you know, I'd have to maybe forfeit a few things. But again, it's just another project in mind, another idea that is a possibility. Honestly, I've got so many ideas going on in my head. As much as I still enjoy doing these updates, you know, it's the rest of my collection that I kind of want to try and encourage as well, because yeah, I don't like having models just sat in boxes. I want to be able to display them in a kind of, a bit like this, in a kind of like a storyline kind of sense, with the movements each day, and or, you know, based on real world schedules at least. And yeah, that's just something that I'm kind of enthusiastic about for the models I do have in my collection. Again, this kind of small project as well, because it is quite small, it would actually be quite authentic in 1/200 as well, if that was possible. But again, you know, it's just another idea, and it's easier said than done, because, you know, you've got to think, if you have one setup, you can't have 4 or 5 model airport setups at once, unless you've got the room to do it, and I haven't. So, but any sort of project I do get into won't really disturb this one, but, you know, obviously that's something I might need to look into as well. Like, once we sort of complete schedules for this update, for this airport, do we then move on to something else? And the project I'm on about would actually would actually be practical on a kind of airport layout this size. There is limitations in terms of, you know, there won't be no cargo ramp and things like that. But I think that my main focus with the US project is the Southwest Airlines concept, whether it be in the Canyon Blue livery, or even back in the day with the Mustard livery, or even nowadays with the you know, the updated livery, the Heart livery. So yeah, there's a lot of things to consider and look into, but again all depends on space and what you can best accommodate for that kind of project, with the kind of dimensions of the actual base itself. But again, it is all just talk and, you know, just ideas. But, you know, I think it's important to kind of express these ideas to you guys and see what you think, and yeah, and just carry on. In the meantime, with these updates, so just to conclude the video, the next update will be focusing on the Friday morning schedules. which I think there's a few movements there that we may not have seen before. Certainly as we're into the weekend, I know for sure. So until then, we will continue, and yeah, we'll continue next weekend.